Hello and welcome to ThePrint. I am Vidhi Bhutra and this is Global Pulse, our daily space to take a look at global media's take on India. The youth protest at Jantar Mantar has continued to be the story which global media has focused on. The New York Times begins its report with a striking image. It says, and I quote, "They flocked to New Delhi by thousands, young Indians demanding accountability from their government for a flawed education system, hoping for a promise or a signal from those in power that would reassure them about their futures." The story says that Monday's police crackdown has only made the protesters angrier and more determined to demand Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation. Tens of thousands tried to march towards Parliament on Monday morning and the police responded. As the crowd swelled, the police cracked down, striking people's shins, calves, and backs, swinging their staffs overhead. Pragati KB, Anuprita Das, and Alex Trevelli report for the NYT. Security forces also dismantled the tents and part of the main stage after Union Minister JP Nadda requested the protesters to end the sit-in. But the protest did not end. Later in the day, Cockroach Janata Party founder Abhijit Dipke said the movement would continue until their demands were met. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has not directly responded to the protesters, but Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju told the media that the safety, security and future of our youth are our priority. And the NYT sees that statement as significant. Mr. Modi rarely responds to critics, so the comments appear to be a sign of the importance the leader has placed on the youth protests and a tacit acknowledgement of the political risk of alienating young voters in a country where more than 40% of the population is under the age of 25, the report notes. The BBC, meanwhile, is looking at how this protest has grown. Geeta Pandey writes that although the Cockroach Janata Party is not a registered political party, it has now evolved into a movement capable of bringing tens of thousands of people onto the streets. The movement has broadened into one of the most visible expressions of public dissent against Modi in recent years, she writes. And Pandey's account of Monday's crackdown is particularly noteworthy. She writes, "During the day, I saw protesters bring injured people to Jantar Mantar, including a young man bleeding heavily from a head wound as volunteer doctors bandaged him, and another student with a broken leg. Then, as police began clearing the protest site, the announcement came over a microphone. Leave now, this protest is over." Pandey writes, "As protesters fled in panic, scrambling over police barricades to escape, I saw people fall to the ground, others struck with sticks, friends and siblings separated, and women in tears." The Associated Press is also making an important point about who is now joining the protest. This is no longer just a movement of angry young people. Professionals and families from across the country are also turning up. The protest, the report says, represents a rare public challenge to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government, reviving criticism over its handling of dissent and use of force to respond to protests. Sheikh Salik and Shonal Ganguly report that the protest had already been continuing for a month, but gained momentum over the weekend as Sonam Wangchuk's health worsened and he was forcibly taken to hospital on Saturday. One of those who joined the protest is Rabina Kashyap, a 26-year-old working professional. And this is what she told Associated Press. "I have nothing to do with this protest, but this is India, this is my country, and these are my people, so I will stand by them." And finally, the Wall Street Journal has a response to Sadanand Dhume's argument that we discussed in an earlier edition of Global Pulse. The argument compared China's meritocracy with India's reservation system. Dhume had argued that reservations are holding India back, while China's brutal merit system gives its economic growth more teeth. But the response says that China's rise has more to do with the country's aggressive industrial policy, manufacturing-led growth, rapid infrastructure expansion, and state-led priorities in areas such as semiconductors and AI. It argues that India's slower growth is due at least as much to bureaucratic delays, corruption, and the lack of sustained central planning around core technologies as it is to reservations. The column says there is no honest way to determine how much weightage can be given to reservation in India's economic lag. Yet Mr. Dhume implicitly gives them nearly all of it, the column says. And then it takes on the argument about India's talent leaving the country. The Indian talent flight Mr. Dhume uses as evidence cuts the other way too. India's physics Olympiad medalists emerge from brutally competitive exams at home. They leave for American research funding, capital markets and compensation. They would likely leave even if India had zero reservations. That is what the column notes. That's your Global Pulse for today. Thanks for watching.